Hey guys, Zane here with another one-take review, and today I wanted to talk about the new Thornhill album, Heroine. Heroine is the sophomore album from Australian alternative metal/rock band Thornhill, who, before they finally made their full-length debut in 2019 with the record The Dark Pool, had built up a good bit of hype for themselves. Even if they didn't totally make waves outside of their respective niche, a lot of people interested in the world of alternative rock music still were very well aware of Thornhill, and they quickly became a fairly well-liked project. With this record, Thornhill finally come to a certain hurdle that virtually every artist, besides maybe the Sex Pistols or Lauryn Hill, has to face, which is creating a debut album that is just as filled with creative energy and passion as their debut. It's certainly a terrifying and difficult challenge for many different artists, both solo and full projects/bands, but Thornhill were definitely up for it this time around. Heroine is an expectedly heavy record, though it is arguably a bit easier on the ears for those uninitiated to heavier rock music than their previous effort was. Much of Thornhill's work here is dense in an effective manner with a passionate but polished sound that doesn't fall too far from the same trees of other progressive rock and metal bands like Muse and even certain post-hardcore bands like At the Drive-In. Thornhill certainly wear their influences directly on their sleeve. They don't really try to hide their influences, and the tsunami of comparisons to early days of Muse that they've gotten over the past few years have definitely been pretty valid, generally speaking. Nonetheless, the Australians are willing to take a sound in alternative rock music that has been popularized for decades now and give their own sense of care and attention to it, which ultimately leads to their success in not so much originality, but in execution. There are also some atmospheric and shoegaze-related moments on Heroine that allow this band to stand out from some of their peers to some extent. I do, however, wish that more of these atmospheric passages were more prominent in the final product of the album. There was obviously an opportunity for Thornhill's sophomore album to be more emotionally impactful and atmospherically impactful in this way that largely goes untapped outside of a couple of transitions between or in the middle of songs, as well as a couple of tracks like the instrumental Something Terrible Came with the Rain that utilize it a bit more than the record overall, but as a full listening experience, there is a bit of squandered opportunity here. However, the slightly disappointing minor usage of ambience throughout the entirety of Thornhill's sophomore record doesn't really do much harm or benefit to the final product overall, and I'm still happy with it either which way. I just do think it could have been slightly improved in this regard. Thornhill's work on Heroine is very dramatic in terms of both delivery and performance, but at the same time it never feels overdone, for the most part at least. The compositions of the record are intelligently put together and the performances are competently done, but at the same time, even the few moments where it does feel like Heroine is going a bit overboard in terms of emotional exertion, Thornhill know when to reel it back and when to fully let loose with their performances, and generally speaking, their sophomore album feels fairly balanced. While the placement of No Punches Held Back tracks being placed next to other No Punches Held Back tracks does ultimately result in something with very little break in the action, for the most part at least, is kind of a clustered feel overall. I still do think that Thornhill's ability to perform well, and to be self-aware of what they are performing is undeniably impressive. To really sum it up, Thornhill are a skilled band, and they don't let any potential flaws in their own work stop them from showing that. So overall, Heroine is a pleasing listen overall, and I can't say I'm disappointed in it in the grand scheme of things. Sure, maybe there were certain aspects about the album that I would tweak myself, maybe add some more ambience to it overall, maybe have a bit more of a breakup in the tones of the different tracks, but at the same time, there's not much I can complain about here either. Any flaws being set aside, Thornhill really showcased their abilities here musically, instrumentally, compositionally, and even to some extent emotionally, and proved that they were more than just a one really good album band. If one really just takes the time to ignore all that could have been regarding Heroine and the many possible creative opportunities that aren't really taken up by Thornhill here, you're left with an excellent record that definitely meets the standards set by the band's debut, and for the most part lives up to the hype as well, which is why I'm going to give Heroine 4 stars out of 5. I think it's just a well-executed record. It won't really blow your mind, and if you're not into this style of music in particular, then you probably won't enjoy it all that much, if I'm being totally honest, but at the same time, I enjoy this style of music, and I think it's done well, all things considered. Sure, I would rather just listen to early Muse, but at the same time, Muse have kind of been awful for like 10, 15 years now, so Thornhill's kind of passing along the torch, I suppose, or I should say Muse is passing the torch to Thornhill, while Thornhill really take up their own sense of attention to different aspects, and I really do think Thornhill are kind of their own unique experience on their own anyway, but my point is, Thornhill, really good band, and I do recommend this record if you are looking for solid alternative rock or just really good rock music coming out of Australia right now. So again, 4 stars out of 5, and with that being said, that's the end of this review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.